91 minutes. That is all it took for a 20-year-old from Manila to walk onto the Aranza Sanchez Stadium clay in Madrid, dismantle an Olympic gold medalist and former Grand Slam finalist in straight sets, and walk off having announced, in the clearest possible language, that the worst month of her season is officially over. Alex Eala beat Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova 6-3, 6-3 in the first round of the 2026 Madrid Open, and the scoreline, tidy as it looks, only tells you the destination. The journey through those 91 minutes was stranger, messier, and more revealing than two matching sets suggest. Let me set the scene for you properly, because context changes everything about how this match should be read. Eala arrived in Madrid ranked 44 in the world, which sounds stable until you realize that just 5 weeks earlier she was 29. Career high. The summit of Filipino tennis, literally the highest any player from her country has ever been ranked. She reached that peak by tearing through the Miami Open draw, toppling Donna Vekic, blitzing Petra Marcinko, ousting 5th seed Magda Linette, and only stopping when Sinew Wang edged her in a 3-set semifinal. 390 ranking points in a single tournament. The biggest haul of her professional life. And then the WTA's 52-week rolling system did what it always does to players who had big results the previous year. It swallowed those old points whole. Eala dropped 16 spots in a single rankings update. The biggest freefall of any player that week. So she entered the clay season already feeling the ground shift beneath her. Her first clay event of 2026 was the Linz Open, a WTA 500 in Austria. She beat Julia Grabher comfortably, 6-4, 6-3, and everything felt right. Then came Jelena Ostapenko in the round of 16. Eala held a 5-1 lead in the second set. She was 4 games from a statement win over a former French Open champion on clay. And she gave it away. Ostapenko, who had been yelling at a heckler in the crowd minutes earlier, clawed back from that 5-1 deficit and won 7-5. The match ended 6-4, 7-5 to the Latvian, and the loss left a specific kind of scar, not the wound of being outclassed, but the deeper one of watching your own hands let go of something you had already grabbed. A week later, Stuttgart. Indoor clay, a WTA 500, and a round of 32 meeting with world number 25 Leylah Fernandez. What happened was closer to an erasure than a tennis match. Fernandez blasted to 4-love with relentless lefty angles, closed the first set 6-1, and while Eala competed harder in the second, she still fell 6-4. The first set was the kind of performance where a player looks physically present but tactically absent, as though the signals between brain and body had a half-second delay. That is 2 consecutive first-week clay exits. One a choke against Ostapenko, one a demolition by Fernandez. Her clay record in 2026, before Madrid, was exactly 1 win and 2 losses. Her career clay record across all levels dating back to 2020 reads something like 15 wins and 20 losses. Not terrible. But not comfortable either. And now she walks into the Caja Magica, Madrid's futuristic retractable roof complex, seeded nowhere but drawing a qualifier in the first round and 19th seed Elise Mertens looming in the second. On the other side of the net stood Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. And here is where the story gets its texture. Pavlyuchenkova is 34 years old. She turned professional in 2005, the year Eala was born. She has won 12 WTA singles titles. She reached the French Open final in 2021, losing to Barbara Krejcikova. That same summer, she and Andrei Rublev won the mixed doubles gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics. Her career high ranking was world number 11. She has earned over $16 million in prize money. She has played more WTA main draw matches than most players dream about. But 2026 has been a disaster for her. She started the year inside the top 50 and immediately began sliding. She lost her opening match at the Australian Open, lost at the Abu Dhabi Open, lost in Doha, lost in Dubai, lost at Indian Wells, or rather, she did not even play Indian Wells or Miami, choosing instead to drop down to WTA 125 events to try to find her game. In Dubrovnik, playing a world number 463, she won the first set, then took a medical timeout for her leg and foot and retired from the match in the third set. 7 consecutive defeats. Her ranking cratered to 116. She had not won a single match all season. That drought finally broke in Madrid qualifying, and the timing matters. Pavlyuchenkova beat Victoria Timova 6-3-6-2 in the first qualifying round, then stunned top qualifying seed Yulia Starodetseva 6-4-0-6-6-4 in the final round. 2 wins in 2 days. After months of nothing, she had clawed her way into the main draw carrying actual match confidence for the first time in 2026, plus a lifetime of clay court muscle memory. This was not a depleted veteran limping into a first-round sacrifice. This was a dangerous player who had just remembered what winning felt like. Now the match itself. The opening games were tight. Pavlyuchenkova came out dictating rallies, her forehand finding depth, her positioning suggesting the kind of tactical clarity that does not vanish just because the ranking does. The first 4 games went on serve. Eala was not dominating. She was surviving. She was keeping the ball deep, keeping her service games clean, but she was not creating separation. At 2-all, this was an even match, and anyone who tells you the result was inevitable did not watch those first 15 minutes. Then Eala broke in the 5th game. The break did not come from a moment of brilliance. It came from sustained pressure, long rallies where she refused to go for early winners, where she kept redirecting the ball to Pavlyuchenkova's backhand side and waited for the error rather than forcing the angle. This is where Eala's improved clay court instincts showed most clearly. A year ago, in this exact situation, she would have tried to end rallies early because she did not trust herself to outlast an experienced clay courter in extended exchanges. Here, she trusted the grind. She made the grind her weapon. That break opened a 3-game run to 4-2. And this is where Pavlyuchenkova's body betrayed her mind. At 2-3 down, the Russian called for the physio. She took an off-court medical timeout, disappearing into the tunnel while Eala sat in her chair, towel over her head, trying to stay warm in the afternoon air. When Pavlyuchenkova returned, she was moving differently. Not dramatically worse, but perceptibly stiffer, as though each lunge to the forehand side required a negotiation with her right leg before it would commit. Eala was sharp enough to recognize the shift immediately. She did not do what an impatient player would do, go for broke and try to finish points in 3 shots. Instead, she extended rallies deliberately. She made Pavlyuchenkova move. She dropped short balls that forced the Russian to come forward, then lobbed over her head to make her retreat. It was not cruel. It was intelligent. Eala was asking a simple question over and over: can you sustain this physically for 2 more sets? And the answer, slowly, became visible. The first set ended 6-3 when Pavlyuchenkova double-faulted on set point. That is the kind of detail that tells you everything about mental state. A player with 12 titles does not double-fault on set point because her technique failed. She double-faults because her legs are not grounding her toss properly, or because the moment arrived and her body could not deliver what her nerve demanded. The second set opened with both players holding serve, and then came another medical intervention. After the 7th game overall in the second set, Pavlyuchenkova received on-court treatment. The trainer worked on her lower body. The crowd at the Anastasia Sanchez Stadium, mostly neutral but always warm toward Eala given her years training in Spain, began to murmur with sympathy. They had seen this before, a veteran trying to compete through a body that was filing its resignation in real time. Eala broke in the 4th game of the second, set to go up 3-1, and she did it with a return winner. Not a lucky clip off the frame. A genuine, intentional, hard-hit return off a second serve that painted the sideline. This is important because the return game is arguably the strongest single tool in Eala's entire arsenal, and seeing her deploy it on clay, at altitude, against a qualifier with nothing to lose, is the kind of evidence that makes you reassess everything you thought you knew about her surface limitations. The set briefly got scrappy. Pavlyuchenkova broke back in the 5th game, and for a flickering moment, you could see the old competitor. She found 3 clean winners in that game: a running forehand pass, a serve out wide that handcuffed Eala, and an inside-out forehand that kicked off the Madrid clay with heavy topspin. 12 titles do not disappear. The talent was still in there, trapped inside a season that would not let it out. But Eala responded immediately. She broke right back in the sixth game to restore her lead at 4-2, and from that point forward, Pavlyuchenkova never seriously threatened again. Both players held serve through the final games, and Eala closed it out 6-3, mirror image of the first set. The statistics confirmed what the eye test suggested. Eala landed 68% of her first serves and won 76% of those points. Pavlyuchenkova managed just 49% first serve accuracy, and even when she got it in, she won only 50% of those points. Eala was also better on return, breaking Pavlyuchenkova's serve multiple times across both sets while saving the only break she conceded in the second set by responding immediately. There is one number, though, that should give Eala pause as she prepares for Mertens. She won just 37% of her second serve points. Against a qualifier hobbled by injury, that number stayed hidden. Against a world number 20 in the second round, it will not. Colin Fleming, the former doubles specialist turned Sky Sports analyst, made the point bluntly during the broadcast: if Eala wants to win Grand Slams, the serve has to improve. Not incrementally. Materially. The second serve percentage is where elite opponents will set up camp and start mining free points. But that is a conversation for tomorrow. Today belongs to what Eala did do, not what she has not yet done. And what she did was handle the hardest kind of match in tennis, a match where the opponent is compromised, where the crowd feels sympathy for the other side, where the temptation is either to relax and coast or to feel guilty about pressing your advantage. Eala did neither. She competed at the same intensity from the first point to the last. She used the stoppages for medical treatment not to lose rhythm, but to stay focused. She played with what her post-match interview revealed as joy. "I feel really great. I love Madrid. It is an amazing tournament," she said on court, and then switched to Spanish, as she often does in Spain. "Every time that I come here, I feel so comfortable and at home. I have been in Spain for so many years." She has been at the Rafa Nadal Academy since she was 13. Mallorca is her second home. Spanish clay is not a foreign surface for her, it is the dirt she grew up training on. That familiarity showed in her footwork throughout the match, in the way she slid into her forehand rather than planting and hitting, in the way she used the courts give to extend her defensive reach on wide balls. There is something else worth noting about the emotional texture of this win. Eala's last two matches on clay were painful in different ways. The Ostapenko loss was the self-inflicted kind, where she held the match in her hands and could not close it. The Fernandez loss was the humbling kind, where the opponent was simply better from the first ball. Coming into Madrid, there was a genuine question of whether those back-to-back experiences had shaken something loose in her clay court confidence. The answer, delivered in 91 minutes, was no. She played this match like a person who had processed her recent losses rather than suppressed them. There was no visible anxiety in the early games when Pavlyuchenkova was competing well. There was no tightening in the second set when the Russian broke back. There was just steady, mature, controlled tennis from someone who, for all the hype and ranking fluctuations surrounding her, is still only 20 years old. Now for Mertens. The 19th seed. The #1 doubles player in the world. A player who beat Eala 7-5-6 love in their only previous meeting at the 2023 Madrid Open in Tunisia. Eala was a teenager ranked outside the top 150 back then. She is a different player now. But Mertens is a specific kind of difficult opponent, someone who does not overpower you, who rarely makes unforced errors, who makes you generate every single winner yourself. If Eala's second serve struggles carry over into that match, Mertens will quietly, methodically convert them into a wall of pressure that never lets up. But here is the thing about Madrid. The altitude. The Caja Magica sits 650 meters above sea level. The ball flies faster through the thinner air. Serves kick harder. Ground strokes carry more penetration. For a player like Eala, whose return game thrives on reaction speed and whose forehand generates natural spin that gains even more action in altitude conditions, Madrid has always been kind. She beat Victoria Timova here in 2025, then pushed Iga Swiatek to 3 sets in a match where she actually won the first set against the defending champion. The same Swiatek she trained alongside at the Rafa Nadal Academy just weeks ago. Madrid likes Alex Eala. The crowd likes her. The conditions like her. The question is whether she likes herself on clay enough to sustain what she showed today across a full week against opponents who will not be taking medical timeouts in the first set. Against Pavlyuchenkova, she answered the easy version of that question. The hard version starts in round 2. And for once, I am not going to tell you what I think will happen, because what I actually want to do is tell you what already did happen. A 20-year-old Filipina walked onto red clay in Madrid carrying the wreckage of 2 straight losses, a 16-spot ranking drop, and a career clay record that would make most analysts shrug. She walked off 91 minutes later having won in straight sets with 76% of first serve points converted, her return game functioning at its highest level on this surface, and her body language radiating something that statistics cannot capture and post-match interviews only approximate. She walked off looking like she belonged there. Not because someone told her she did. Because the scoreboard did. Pavlyuchenkova, for her part, deserves more than a footnote. She is a player who fought through a dismal season to qualify for this draw, who competed honestly even as her body failed her, and who carries the kind of career resume that demands respect regardless of today's result. 12 titles. A Grand Slam final. An Olympic gold medal. She will be 35 this summer, and the road back to relevance gets longer with each passing week. Whether she finds it or not, she earned her place on that Madrid court by winning 2 qualifying matches after months of losing, and there is dignity in that. She and Eala shook hands at the net, and it was the kind of handshake where both players look each other in the eye and understand, without words, that one of them was passing through a door the other had opened long before she was born. This win will not change Eala's ranking dramatically. It will not make headlines beyond the Filipino sports press and the tennis analytics community. It will not be remembered as a turning point if she loses to Mertens in 2 days. But it did something rankings and headlines cannot do. It gave a player who had been accumulating doubt on clay a clean, composed, definitive 91 minutes of proof that she can compete on this surface at the highest level of the sport. She took that proof and tucked it into her pocket. Now she walks to the next court.